Hello everyone, this is part 9 of What If Naruto Gained Ashura's Memories, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Orochimaru winced, as Kabuto changed the bandages on his W. The Uchiha and Minato spawn were strong, almost too strong for two genin. Or Chunin. He looked down at the W. It was healing very slowly, slower than before. Is this body already at its limits? He hissed in annoyance. Kabuto sighed, as he secured the medical cloth. So it would seem, Orochimaru-sama. Should it prepare another one soon? The Sannin grunted. What of our little Uchiha? Would he be coming to us? Kabuto stopped and looked up at him, with a small shake of his head. It would seem that the cursed seal has somehow been removed from his body, if what my spies told me is correct. Considering we hadn't seen him activating it during his exam, nor during the invasion, I must presume it is the truth. The snake Sannin froze, rage and disbelief rising to the heights of the Hokage monument. What? He snarled, intent radiating from him. How had he managed to get rid of it? Not even Jiraiya has figured out its workings yet. It appears one Senju Uzumaki Naruto is more shrewd than your former teammate, my lord. Kabuto answered. Damn your spawn, Namikaze. The resounding scream of frustration could be heard for miles. Naruto sighed, as he watched the three Edo Tensei kage stop in their respective ceiling circles, each creatively marked with a kanji wood, water, flash. Oh. Before I forge it, the Shodai called, offering 2 scrolls to Naruto. Naruto-kun. Naruto stepped closer to the founder and took them. What are these? Well, Jiraiya-san here said you want Tsunade to be the next Hokage. The small scroll is our message for her, he explained. Naruto hummed and passed the small scroll to Sasuke, who immediately tucked it away. And the bigger one. The Shodai's brown eyes met him. All my Mokuton techniques. You're a Senju and in possession of the ability. Many may be familiar, but there were several that I had invented. Study them and use them in the village's defense. The blonde grinned. Arigato. I will be sure to do so. He took a step back to stand next to Sasuke again. It was Asmal afire, letting the 3 kage go. Just Sasuke, Kakashi, Yamato, Jiraiya and himself. No one else was present. All to the council knew that today was the day. Good luck in the future, boys, his father said, looking both at him and Sasuke with a smile. And take care. Sasuke hummed, standing little ways away, next to Kakashi. We will. It was an honor. Naruto saw it. His brother had always been a master at hiding his thoughts and emotions, but as time went by, he had learned to read him, like an open book. Living extra lives also helped. The thing was, that on the outside, Sasuke seemed calm and just a tiny bit detached. However, in fact, the Uchiha was just as sad to see the 3 men go, as he was. These past weeks rarely made both of them feel safe and comfortable again. Having a full family. But they had D once, even the fact that they were here, was partially against the laws of nature and ninja. The 3 of them staying, or getting fully resurrected, not that they could do it, as neither of them had Rinnegan, would have been even more upsetting for the balance. It could not be. He nodded to the Nadaime too, he'll miss his new, favorite pranking partner, and walked over to his father. He carefully crossed into the seal and hugged the older blonde close. Ashitaru, Oto-san. His father hugged him back, just as tightly. Naru-chan, what did I tell you about that? Naruto chuckled and buried his head even more into the white haori. That's not a habit you gonna break. It's too old for that. His father snickered and hummed. Ashitaru, Naruto. And take care of each other, the 4 of you, Keep an eye on Kakashi and Tenzo, okay? If they're anything like they used to be as children, they'll need their backs covered by you and Sasuke. Gee, thanks for the vote of confidence, sensei. Kakashi murmured from next to Tenzo and Jiraiya. Don't worry, Sasuke said. And while Naruto couldn't see him now, he cold her smirk his brother wore, we'll be extra careful, when babysitting our precious Jonin senseis. Naruto snickered, and even Jiraiya choked on his laughter, at the choice of words and carefully backed out of Theshiki of the release jutsu. He crouched down a bit farther from the others and he coaxed his chakra into the surface, to channel into the connecting seal, which would power the other three and release the trapped souls. Protect the village, and the world with it, the Shodaime said. Sasuke stepped next to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Naruto smiled. Starting this lifetime, they would forever be united front. Till our last breath, his brother said seriously. Naruto nodded and then placed his hand where needed, channeling chakra. The various kanji lit up, one by one with blue light, and as the light reached the separate ceiling circles, it turned from blue to white, disintegrating the bee. There was a shockwave of chakra, which caused a blast of wind, but it was soon gone. As Naruto looked down, he found the array gone, just like his family. He sighed. Sasuke squeezed his shoulder in silent comfort and then offered a hand to help him stand. As he stood, Naruto turned towards the remaining three shinobi, whose eyes trailed him and the spot, where the Hokage had been in equal parts. What now? He asked. After a heartbeat of silence it was Jiraiya, who answered. Now we bring back Tsunade. Are you sure you can't come, Kakashi? Yamato? Sasuke asked, throwing a hopeful glance at the two, who made up his surrogate family. Kakashi shook his head. No, the village needs everyone here. Had Naruto been any quieter about his protests, you would be staying too, you know. Sasuke hummed, remembering that conversation well. Naruto had been summoned to the Hokage office and Sasuke had gone with him, as always. The two remaining elders and Jiraiya had been there. The Toad Sannin has expressed his desire to take Naruto out of the village, to find Tsunade. He wanted to spend some time with his godson and he believed that the presence of another Senju may be good enough to persuade Tsunade to return. When they'd been told Sasuke would stay behind, Naruto refused even to move from his spot. Useless, the decision was changed. Jiraiya could only stand the scowl and the look Naruto was giving him for about 10 minutes, before he caved in and changed his wording. Sasuke remembered hearing the Sannin mutter about the blonde learning too much from the Nadaime in the past weeks. The elders hadn't been overly happy either, saying that every able-B shinobi was needed right now to help recuperate. But as Naruto's eyes changed from violet to fox-like red, both retired shinobi gave in. I know. Being the Jinchuriki of Kurama also helps, he muttered quietly. Kakashi and Yamato chuckled at that. Hey, Uchiha, are you coming? The Sannin called. Sasuke took a deep breath to remain calm and nodded to his senseis, before turning around and heading for the gate. Hurry up, kid, Tsunade's not going to stay in one place. Sasuke groaned. This is going to be a long trip. Tanzaku guy? Naruto asked. As they crossed into the town, he knew for a fact that the place was a pleasure town. Bathhouses, restaurants, taverns, casinos, and one could not forget the shadier part of town either. The red light district. Jiraiya hummed. Yes, Tsunade likes her fun. Naruto's violet eyes narrowed on the man. What fun are you referring to? Jiraiya was quiet for a second. You know, drinking. Gambling. Is she any good at least? Sasuke asked, wrinkling his nose. She has the worst luck in all of the elemental nations, murmured the white-haired man, with a small frown. Naruto growled. Well, that explains why the Senju account has zeros. Let me guess, if she had access to the Uzumaki one, it would be empty too, right? The spymaster sighed and frowned. Yes. Luckily Mito-sama noticed Tsunade's tendencies and after Kushina came to the village, she wrote off the account to Kushina's name, so Tsunade had no access to that fortune. Kushina herself had only been informed of her money after she made Jonin, but a conversation with Sarutobi-sensei, and knowing Tsunade, she was happy. Happy that the Uzumaki hadn't gone bankrupt, while she grew up. Naruto groaned. Shinju have mercy. As they passed the buildings their eyes wandered around. This place is big, his brother growled. How are we going to find her? Well, you usually follow the commotion and the loud swearing, said the Sannin. Naruto scoffed. I can locate her. What's her chakra nature? Jiraiya blinked at him. Earth. She has about as much chakra as me. Maybe even a bit more, considering her Senju Uzumaki lineage. Naruto closed his eyes and spread his sensory to the fullest. Many signatures assaulted his senses then, so strongly that he took a shuddering breath. But most were civilian-sized or a size, that was most common for average Chunin and Jonin. Sasuke and Jiraiya stood out the most, their closeness and the strength of their chakra almost blinding, in a figurative sense. Until he felt that chakra. Powerful like Jiraiya's, but much firmer. Earth nature for sure, calm and controlled to the last drop. There was electricity too, energizing, vitalizing. Somehow those two opposing natures were present in the chakra and coexisted, instead of cancelling one other out. A miracle and a feat of chakra control. It also had the faintest trace of the typical Uzumaki adamantine chakra. But nowhere near enough for the individual to form the chains. And it had that warm, serene feel, that was the general undertone for all healers. Right next to the Senju, Uzumaki chakra he felt another one. Another medic, but this one not so perfectly controlled. This signature was weaker and had a faint warm feeling to it. He opened his eyes and looked at Jiraiya. I think, I found her. Larger than yours, well controlled and a medic for sure. How can you tell? Asked the Sannin, eyebrow arching. Naruto hummed. Medics have a certain serenity to their chakra, in a sense. Come on, let's not waste time. He nodded to the man and started walking. Sasuke followed him without even uttering a sound. His brother knew well how accurate his sensory could be, if he knew what to look for, and he certainly had enough general information on the Sannin to find her. It's impossible to track someone so precisely. Jiraiya murmured behind them. Naruto chose to ignore the comment. The Sannin was unaware if Hokage had been in a different life, of what he was truly capable of even now, despite still not having back all the power he possessed in his prime. He hoped they would still have a few years before having to stop the lunatics. Right now, they couldn't fight off two mad Uchihas and their grandmother. Not impossible, Sasuke said, and Naruto saw as he threw a look at his godfather. It may be impossible for an average censor, but not Naruto. He's different. They walked towards the chakra, which he clung onto, until they reached one of the tallest buildings in town. Not so surprisingly, it was a casino. He shared a look with Sasuke and then he sighed. Here goes nothing, he murmured softly. They stepped in and despite the crowd, it didn't take long for Naruto to spot her. Now that they were closer, her chakra felt even more powerful. He walked over to her, shoulder to shoulder with Sasuke, and they stopped next to her table. A black-haired young woman sat next to her, holding a pet pig. Who had pig for a pet? Why not a cat or a dog, or hell, some sort of bird? Why a pig? She had long blonde hair, held in two pigtails, brown eyes, which Naruto was sure she'd inherited from Hashirama, as they were almost the same and rather large, womanly assists. She wore a grey blouse and green haori. The purple rhombus of the Byakugo was also the giveaway. Are you the slug princess, Tsunade of the Senju? Naruto asked. The woman's brown eyes snapped up to them, her gaze slightly narrowed. Naruto could feel suspicion and curiosity from both her and the black-haired woman. Who wants to know? She asked. Sasuke was the one to answer, his tone just a bit scratching. Uchiha Sasuke and Senju Uzumaki Naruto of Konoha. The effect was instantaneous. Her brown eyes narrowed even more, anger darkening her youthful features. All to Naruto suspected that was the work of a genjutsu. He felt a thin layer of chakra cover her, from head to toe, like a second, invisible skin. Who are you? You dare using my family's name? Who are you to dare using my family's name? She roared, jumping forward. Naruto channeled chakra into his feet to get away. He landed pressed against one of the tables, but he wasn't overly worried. As she swung her fist, he raised his own hand and enchanced it with chakra the same way she did and caught her punch without a blink. She froze for a second and he shoved her away, glaring. Is it how you greet all your allies, Namakuji Haim? We're Notilius's I don't even know who you are. She growled back. Naruto's violet eyes narrowed on her. Senju Uzumaki Naruto, son of Senju Namikaze Minato, Kiroi no Senko and Konoha's Yodime and Uzumaki Kushina Haim, heiress of the Uzumaki and chosen of Uzumaki Mito, known as Thikaishi, he hissed in a low tone. No, she shook her head. Impossible. It was the child's D. It was told their child had it. Naruto's eyes went wide. So, was she calling him a liar? You abandon family and then you call me a liar. He growled back to her. Their son is D from the ceiling, she repeated, angry and desperate at the same time. Naruto felt it. All her feelings, anger, desperation, grief, oh so much grief. He took a deep breath and drew back, before her emotions overwhelmed him. He shared a look with Sasuke, who was now leaning against the table where the black-haired girl still stood, studying them both. His brother's face was covered by unreadable calmness, but he gave a tiny nod. Show her, Ototo. Count the seconds how long it takes her to process it, Ni-sama, he counted, only half joking. Tsunade's eyes as well as the other girl's eyes flickered to Sasuke for a moment with a raised eyebrow, but before she could say a word, Naruto flared his chakra. The action caused her to look back at him, and once her whole attention was focused, Naruto released even more of his chakra, letting everything seep into it. She wasn't a censor, but there were certain things, that if powerful enough, could be picked up by non-senses, from a close range. First, he allowed Kurama's chakra to the surface, giving his body a soft, orange glow, and as the malice rolled off of him, everyone in the room staggered to their feet and ran. Her eyes widened. Then, he allowed his own chakra to rise like water from a well, pushing Kurama's chakra down. It rose and rose further and further until Sasuke smirked, and that action alone was enough confirmation for the blonde to know that it was now visible. Tsunade's eyes were even wider, and he took another breath, coaxing a bit more of his power to the surface. She staggered back, looking at him in shock. I believe you, she said at last. Tsunade did not want to believe what she heard from the blonde. No, it was impossible. Only because he had blonde hair, like Minato, and violet eyes, that were entirely too much like her former student and cousin, it didn't mean what he said was true. The Anbu agent that had found her after the fox's attack had said that Kushina and her child, the child they chose to be the next vessel, had died not long after her sensei had made it back to the village, with said child and the bee of the parents. The blonde and the Uchiha, she could believe that. The black hair and eyes and the symbol on his clothes were unmistakable, shared a look. Show her, Ototo, the Uchiha said. The blonde's serious face didn't change. Count the seconds how long it takes her to process it, Ni-sama. Tsunade blinked. That was entirely unexpected. Uchiha didn't get close to anyone outside of their clan. And certainly not so close, to call someone their brother. Her thought process was off, as the blonde's chakra flared. She looked back and she saw an orange glow around him, and the room was filled with the searing chakra of the Kyuubi from almost 13 years ago. With the searing chakra also came a wave of K intent, which sent everyone in T-bar running, until only the blonde, the Uchiha, Shizune and herself remained. And then, chakra rose. This time, it seemed to be the boy's own, as it pushed the foxes back down. It reminded her of both Minato and Kushina at once, dense, yet well controlled. But, as it rose, she felt something else. A presence, a power she had not felt since she was a child. The kid kept dragging more and more chakra forward, such quantities, that the energy actually formed a visible, blazing outline around him, the usual light blue tainted by soft green, and there was it again. She'd only ever felt that around her grandfather, when he allowed his chakra free. But his chakra had been unique even by Senju, Uzumaki standards, as he had the Mokuton. An ability that had not been seen before, nor after. Could it be? She thought, watching the boy wide-eyed. He was 13 at best and he already had cage-level reserves, and she wasn't a fool. Despite how great his chakra reserves were, despite how dense, he had almost perfect control. Gods be good, that kid could be a greater medic than she was, if only taught. The blonde looked at him, his violet eyes burning into her very soul. Minato's hair and face. Kushina's eyes, the gaze holding the sharp edge, like her great-uncle's, while his chakra felt like Kushina's and her grandfather's at once. He wasn't lying. I believe you, she said sharply, the words tumbling out of her mouth clumsily. I believe you, she whispered. Slowly, the blonde drew his chakra back and she gasped at the sudden absence of the powerful energy. Blinking to clear her clouded thoughts, she looked to the side. Shizune was wide-eyed, clutching Tonton for dear life, paler than normal. The Uchiha was calmness personified, the small smirk that played on his lips was one of amusement, as if he knew this might happen. What the F? A familiar voice called. Tsunade's gaze slid behind the boy Naruto. Naruto was his name, and she saw her teammate. What was Jiraiya doing here? Do you want to call an entire army? How much chakra was that? Naruto shrugged. She had Thenavito call me a liar. Naruto threw her a look, his violet eyes narrowing. Oh, that look was Tobirama Oji-san just fine. Jiraiya growled. That does not mean you send an entire casino running and then release enough chakra so that even Konoha's sensor teams can feel it. And the Fox's chakra, on top of that. Oh, quiet no, Sannin. This would not have happened, if she calmly listened to Ototo's explanation and then actually stopped to think about it. The Uchiha growled, but she accused him of lying and then attacked him. Call it self-defense, for it was. Be grateful no jutsu had been thrown around. She blinked. Had those two really called one another brother? An Uchiha and an Uzumaki, was the world coming to an end? Or Senju, was Naruto, Minato, as well really one of her own? She shook her head and stood up, trying to gather her thoughts. As she did so, her brown eyes landed on the blonde, whose chakra was so eerily similar to her grandfather's. You better explain and do it fast. To her surprise, the blonde matched her gaze without a twitch. He wasn't intimidated at all. You know, trying to intimidate me won't work. The past week I stared down Oto-san, Tobarama Gigi and Hashirama Oji-san. Your chakra presence is nothing, compared to theirs. Her eyes went wide. What did you just say? The blonde smirked at her, as if he'd just hit the jackpot of his life. Sit down Oba-san and we will explain. Naruto sighed, slipping into a seat opposite from the female Sannin. Sasuke sat next to him and Jiraiya lingered behind them, like some form of protector, not that they needed protecting. They could do it for themselves and each other. In the worst of cases, Naruto would let Kurama do the protecting. So, care to explain? Naruto hummed. A traitor tried rigging my graduation months ago and he told me to steal the forbidden scroll. Ik knew the Sandaime would be watching, so I thought it would be honest way to reveal him. One of my senseis from the academy, the one who had been nice, or at least professional over the years and hadn't tried sabotaging me for the fox. He got involved, found me outside and protected me, got Amnesty W on his back. I lost my cool and then, the next thing I know the trees around me are blooming from my chakra. Her eyes went wide in shock, but he continued. I restrained him with roots and gave the scroll back to Sandaime-sama. During the checkup that night he told the Hokage that I knew who my parents were, we only didn't know which of them had Senju B. After Attest, he told us it was Oto-san and that he was the grandson of a certain Suiten master. And, here we are. Our recent Chunin exam finals went down the drain when your snake-faced former teammate orchestrated an invasion with Suna. Sasuke and I stopped the Ichibi Jinchuriki, Gaara from losing it and went to help the Sandaime. He fought the snake and we dealt with the family. Orochi team resurrected the three of them to ensure Konoha's destruction. We broke his control over them, so they helped protect the village. They spent the past week or so in Konoha, helping me and Sasuke train. And now that they're gone, here we are. Her eyes were wide, very wide in Naruto's opinion. The disbelief that was coming from her was so strong, that Naruto thought she would call B on his words. But then, she just scowled and shook her head. And what do I have to do with this? We need a new cage, of course. Sasuke said calmly. The elders want you to take the mantle of Godime, seeing that so far, the past three Senju who'd led the village ensured its survival and despite certain dire circumstances during their reign, they also brought relative prosperity. Tsunade scowled and glared at them. And everyone, whom he loved and had touched that accursed hat, or even thought about taking it, had D. I will not take it. Sasuke scowled. The stability of the village hangs on this, we need a leader. Who better, than a Senju, related to three past cages and student of the one, who wasn't a Senju. And what would you know about that, kid? You Anyukiha, no members of your family ever truly sacrificing anything for Konoha. The last one, who was cage level, had in fact tried to destroy it, her words were set off by powerful K intent radiating from both of them. There were those, who had not fallen. Sasuke hissed, his eyes flashing with the Sharingan. A few, but there were members of my clan, who had not given in to the curse of hated. Some, who'd overcome it and those people were the greatest. Uchiha Madara can't hold a candle to them, a selfish madman, who tried to destroy what he created, will never be like the few, who understood, that the Sharingan does not make us invincible. And that there is more to the world, than the clan or some sort of revenge for petty things. And you, Naruto growled, if it did not know any better, I would say it was you, who had fallen to that infamous curse. Senju and Uzumaki stick together, We protect our own trough thick and thin, we fight for what we believe in. For what is right. Because if we don't, then who will? The past Kage of the village stood tall and proud, protecting what they believed in. Protecting the dream of a safer future. Protecting their comrades and friends, no, their family. For the village is a family, and as long as one has breath in their body, we protect one another. That is what Hashirama Oji-san called Sakachili, the high no Ishi. I lamented the fall of my kin. Sasuke muttered. I thought no one ever will be so bitter, such a coward, to turn their back to the village, to turn twist the ideals of peace, that were rooted in the days of the Rikudo Sennin, as the Uchiha had. But it seems, the world we and the Hokage had dreamt of, is indeed out of reach, if a senju like you would rather be a coward and embrace the curse, instead of fighting and taking responsibility. Sasuke glared at her one last time and stood up. Come now, Ototo. Obviously the faith her family has placed in her was in vain. If my kin were drowned in shame for what had been going on for so long, then she is the only, and greatest stain on the unbreakable will of your own clans. Uchiha, Senju, Uzumaki. We don't leave our own behind. She did just that, she's not worth your time and certainly not your tears. Naruto's breath hitched, as he remembered crying after Jiraiya appeared. He remembered wondering, if there was anyone out here, who cared. He scowled at her and then the scroll Hashirama had given him on the table. My question is, Tsunade, what are you? A Senju Uzumaki, who stands up for her be and for what is right, or are you perhaps a weak-willed, nameless civilian, who leaves others behind to save her own skin? He stood up. Think about it, Oba-san. Think and decide. Don't think you're the only one who's lost loved ones. We all know what it's like to lose people. People you love more than the world. People, for whom you would burn the world, if it meant their happiness, he said, gesturing at Sasuke, Jiraiya and himself. We all know what it's like to Beelan. Sasuke said, his tone cracking a bit. To blame yourself, or perhaps, blame someone, because blaming someone is always easier, for what happened and dwell on what ifs. But the past cannot be changed. The hurt, the be and the shadows will always linger. The question is, are you strong enough to stand up, say sorry and start anew? Are you strong enough, that in starting anew, you'll do your best to honor their legacy and memory? He asked Alice. He waited a little, but the woman didn't answer. He sighed. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. All of them who remain, a shame on the Rikudo and on the Sennin's dream of peace. We, who were trusted the world, we are the ones to tear it apart. But how can we hold it together, when our families are traitors and cowards or had been spat on in death? Shaking his head, the blonde headed towards the door, Sasuke shuffling next to him quietly. Despite what they'd heard from the Hokages about Tsunade, they'd hoped she'd changed, just bit towards the better. That she would be responsible and worthy enough to take up the hat and govern the village, until Naruto himself was old enough to take over. Because, lunatic Uchihas and vengeful, non-human grandmothers aside, the blonde did want to be Hokage. Alas, the love of the Senju and the fierceness of the Uzumaki had long died out from her. She didn't even have a spark of Thehi no Ishi, much less a burning inferno bright and powerful enough to protect and guide Konoha. Jiraiya sat by the table of the hotel they decided to spend the night in. They were having dinner, well, the boys were eating. He was too busy thinking about what they said to Tsunade, to actually eat. The food was good, but his thoughts were all over the place, so he couldn't focus. Just what were those two made of? They surely didn't act like children, or even young shinobi their age. Calm, reasonable, noble, focused, and their years, as if they were speaking from their own experiences. Of course, he knew both boys had Alice an ideal start, but that didn't explain their mindset. In fact, it was the way they'd started off, that made it even more astonishing. They had not been crushed and consumed by the loneliness and darkness that lingered around them. In fact, perhaps, whenever one of them was starting to fall, the other would pull them out and they would be all the stronger for it. They were, Jiraiya thought softly, the students his sensei would have deserved. Orochimaru has gone mad with his pursuit of power and immortality. And Tsunade himself were far from reasonable or responsible after the Kyuubi attack. These two on the other hand. We should train Abbott, tomorrow, he said at last, to break the thick silence that has settled around them. The boys looked at him with raised eyebrows. You gave Tsunade things to think about. She would either think them trough and come to us, or she would just run. You two did more than I could have. From now on, it's her decision, and regardless of her choice, you won't be at fault. Naruto gave Asmal scowl. Not that we take the responsibility and consequences of a coward's choices. He's right, Sasuke said, his face calmer, but Jiraiya could see the underlying steel. If she says no, she will be a missing nin, and we all know it. We didn't tell that to her, but she's smart enough to know it. The Sannin barely suppressed a tired these two grown up enough to put even him or Tsunade to shame, when it came to responsibilities and mindset. He felt like instead of teaching them, he couldn't just teach Naruto, the Uchiha would know anyway, so he was kind of involuntarily teaching both, not that there was much to teach they were teaching him. Teaching him about a side of the shinobi life, about the world, which he had not known before. And maybe, just maybe, he would listen. After all, they didn't say anything idiotic, since he'd met them. He just hoped Tsunade would make the right choice as well. Minato, it seems your son lives up to those high standards set in front of him, even exceeds them. And Sasuke, he's right there with Naruto every step of the way. He's broken his curse and now they walk side by side. It seems you and the Senju brothers have left the village in the best of hands. Kushina would be proud of them both, that's for sure, he thought. Hello, Tsunade. Long time no SSC. Tsunade froze at the words hissed behind her back. There was only one person. She turned to face her former teammate, with Aglare. She was in no mood to deal with him, not after what the blonde and the Uchiha rubbed in her face. She hadn't left her there, they did while she was alive, she had been left behind, right? What do you want, Orochimaru? She demanded coldly. Well, you see, I had an ST battle and I need some healing. Who better than the best medic, my old teammate? As he darted closer, she noticed that his arms were missing. Whatever Sabutobi-sensei had done, had been ablo to him. And why would it help a twisted soul, like you? She asked. His yellow eyes flashed. Because I can give you back what you've lost, Tsunade. I can bring back your family, so you won't be alone. Her eyes narrowed, recalling what Naruto had said about Orochimaru using her uncle's twisted jutsu to bring back the D. To use them, those who built the village, to destroy it. It left a bitter taste in her mouth. But fighting Orochimaru wasn't a good idea, not here, in town. She may have strayed from the path her family had hoped she would follow, but she was still a medic. Preserving innocent lives was still a priority, and she could very well avoid fighting him now and possibly ruining the place. Well, what do you say? I could see Dan again. She asked in a quiet tone. It had been so long ago, so long, that she almost forgot what it was like, to have him by her side. To be wrapped in his embrace. Orochimaru smiled, although she could see it was far from genuine, and nodded. If that is your wish, yes. We fight for what we believe in. For what is right. Because if we don't, then who will? The past cage of the village stood tall and proud, protecting what they believed in. Naruto's words echoed in her head, and they see like her uncle's Raijin no Ken. Precise and shockingly painful. Give me a day to think on it. Orochimaru frowned a bit, but then nodded. Be by the forest tomorrow midday, and remember. The reward for helping me is being reunited with your family. She watched him go, rooted to her spot, angered, upset and numb all the same. What was she to do now? Jiraiya would come hounding her soon too. Perhaps she could leave beforehand. Tsunade-sama. Shizune called, her voice quivering a bit. She threw one last dark glaze at the spot, where the snake summoner stood, just minutes ago. Pack everything, Shizune. We're leaving this place as soon as possible, she said, heading towards the casino, where their room was. Still, as she stowed away, more angry and saddened than anything, angry at Orochimaru, at Jiraiya, at her family, the words came back again. Sharp and powerful, in a way she only ever remembered her grandfather's words to be. We fight for what we believe in. For what is right. Because if we don't, then who will? The past cage of the village stood tall and proud, protecting what they believed in. When Naruto woke, Sasuke was already getting dressed. Unlike at home, he couldn't sleep here. The knowledge that they were out of Konoha set him on edge, making his mind more awake, despite the early hour. They'd decided to share a room, as it was a more coin-friendly solution. Not that either of them were short on money, with Sasuke having all the Uchiha fortune and him, the Uzumaki account, as well as his father's separate one. But still, best think over about what needed to be paid and what could be used to see their expenses. Morning, Ototo. Shall we go down and eat something? He flashed his brother Agron. Sure, Nisama. Just give me a minute. He climbed from under his covers too and hurriedly dressed, checking twice to have his utility belt and weapons. Satisfied, they stepped out onto the corridor. Naruto knocked on the door next to theirs, knowing that it had been Jiraiya's. When he opened the door, they found a girl few years older than him, already cleaning. Good morning, Naruto greeted, gaining her attention. The girl stopped in her chore and looked up. Good morning. How may I help? This room was rented by Atl man with dark eyes and long, white hair. He's our companion. Do you know where he may be? Sasuke asked. She nodded. Yes, I've seen him leave a few hours ago. He seemed to be in a hurry. Naruto's eyebrows knitted together. Did you, by chance, see where he went? Or did he perhaps mention something? He was hurrying towards Third Lotus bathhouse, I think. You leave the building and take a turn to the left and then, when you reach the crossroad, you take a right turn. That road will take you to the bathhouses. The one you're looking for is the biggest one in town. Naruto shared an irate look with Sasuke. Speak about the man being a pervert. Kurama rumbled into their minds. To me it seems, he's even more perverted than he was when Kushina and Minato were alive. Naruto smiled at the girl and nodded. Thank you for the information. Have a nice day. They left the place in a hurry, following the girl's instructions, while Naruto's senses were spread wide, trying to spot anything familiar. Halfway there, Naruto stopped, freezing on the spot like a hound, which caught the scent. Sasuke, the snake's in town, and my gambling addict of an aunt seems to be there, as well. To hell with that pervert. The other two are more important right now, his brother said, his Sharingan spinning to life in an instant. Agreed, he said as they sped off towards the signatures. As it appeared, the Sannin had been faster than they were, Naruto noted, as they skidded to a halt on the edge of the clearing. Orochimaru and Kabuto were already fighting Jiraiya and Tsunade, while Shizune lingered to the side, watching in worry. Without a word, the two genin hurried over to the medic apprentice. Shizune-san, what's going on? Naruto asked urgently, half his gaze on the earth-shattering fight. Orochimaru approached us after you left and Tsunade-sama wanted to leave, before either of you caught up. Orochimaru expected it and intercepted us, and I think Jiraiya-sama had seen us or Orochimaru, so he followed. Sasuke cursed colorfully and then, they turned to watch the fight. Even they understood, that this was as much between enemies, as much it was between former teammates. And everything looked just fine, until Tsunade got W, coloring Kabuto's K red. Oh. No. Shizune gasped in worry, her black eyes widening. What now? Sasuke asked, muscles tense. Tsunade-sama, she has hemophobia. Shizune answered. Naruto groaned. Are you serious? She's a Shinju medic. Shizune nodded, her eyes flashing at his sharp tone. Oh. Oto-sama, give me strength not to strangle my own kin, he murmured. He shared a look with Sasuke and both of them leapt into the fight. Naruto was just fast enough to catch Kabuto's fist flying towards the frozen Chunin. His violet eyes narrowed on the silver-haired traitor. Take your filthy hands off of my family, he snarled. Shiroi Hono, Yamakage. White flames, wildfire, Sasuke called, breathing out a stream of white fire. Knowing the strength of the flames, he brached himself, but his brother had perfect aim. The flames ghosted past him and Tsunade, the heat searing. What are you doing here? Tsunade asked in shock. Leave you two or they'll take you to splinters. Naruto snorted, throwing her a look. No, they won't. Now, will you stand up and fight? Or will you let them win? Let your fears win. The rest he wanted to say was see off, as he saw Kabuto form chakra scalpels around his hands. One even scraped Sasuke, drawing B. Naruto leapt forwards and luckily for him, the silver-haired man was right on the ground. I told you to leave my family alone. He roared, his fist onto the ground, sending the other flying, as the earth ruptured under the blow. Kabuto cursed and performed Akawarimi, however, sadly for him Sasuke was already waiting for him with his tanto drawn. Kabuto blocked the weapon with his own, clashing a few times with Sasuke, forcing the Uchiha back. Naruto's eyes narrowed and chakra chains shot from his back to bind the silver-haired man, but Kabuto managed to evade them and started retreating. Naruto paused, noticing the lull in the fight, as Orochimaru and his disciple put some extra distance between them. Tsunade was still in shock, unmoved from her spot. How about we finish this fast? Orochimaru hissed, running trough hand signs at a blinding speed. Still, Sasuke managed to catch them and soon, all four of them were going trough the same signs. Even their hands touched the ground together. Kuchio's no jutsu, Manda. Kuchio's no jutsu, Gambabunta. The two former teammates cried together. Kuchio's, Ginhidzum. Naruto called. Kuchio's, Kabagatatsuki. Sasuke cried. The four plumes of smoke were so great, that they covered the entire clearing for a moment before it cleared to reveal four gargantuan creatures. An orange toad, a purple snake, a gray and cream stag and a white and blue wolf with great fangs. What the F? Orochimaru called, looking at the two summons he had never seen before. What are you two? Freaks of nature. Naruto smiled, knowing what would come. 3, 2. He counted gleefully. What did you just say, you mortal s? Thundered Kabagatatsuki. What did Yudari calling my summoner and his brother? Naruto laughed, bowing his head to the great wolf. A pleasure to see you once more, Kabagatatsuki-sama. This time in more favorable circumstances. The wolf nodded back and then Naruto flared his chakra, his hands flashing trough two hand signs in a blink. Mokuton, Mokusei Ju no Yoroi. Wood release, wooden beast armor. Wood grew from the ground, shocking the three Sannin, Tsunade the most, as she had never again expected to see the ability. And then it wrapped around Ginhidzum, forming a perfect armor. And now, you're going down, freak. Naruto called, as his summon leapt forth to tackle Manda. The two rolled and struggled for a moment, the snake having hard time in grabbing hold of the stag, due to his sharp antlers, and the sturdy armor wasn't helping much either. Seeing that blinting his opponent was no use, Manda tried wrapping around the stag, only for Kabagatatsuki to catch his tail and fling him at Gambabunta. Gambabunta leapt onto the snake, almost crushing him, but still, Manda buried himself in the ground, disappearing from sight. Not wanting to give the enemy any advantage at all, Ginhidzum stomped the ground and scarred it with his antlers, the released chakra breaking the ground, revealing the snake. Summon and summoner leapt right towards Sasuke. However, Jiraiya and Gambabunta interfered. Kaiten, Gamayu Enden. Fire release, toad oil flame bullet. Orochimaru escaped with Akawarimi. However, the flames caught Manda and then the four watched with some satisfaction at the great snake shed its skin to escape. Then, before anyone had the chance to properly recover, Tsunade leapt right at Orochimaru, punching him in the face. Naruto looked down at his summon. Ginhidzum-sama, would you mind lending me some chakra? I'm afraid, even with Kurama here, I'm not as strong as used to be. Not at all, Ashura-sama, the stag answered calmly, and Naruto's breath hitched, as he felt the link forming between them. Naruto shared a look with Sasuke, as he felt his summon's chakra connect with his own. By the looks of it, his brother was borrowing some chakra from his own partner, not that it was a surprise. He waited for Sasuke to go trough his hand signs. They released the techniques together, aimed towards Manda and Orochimaru. Tsunade could see him, so he hoped the medic would have the presence of mind to get away, when the move was close. Kyoryoku, Shakutan, Asahi. Cooperation, Scorch release, Rising Sun, they anointed together. The usually red-orange flames were colored into bluish-red. The wide stream hit Manda and the snake hissed before disappearing in a plume of smoke. Then, they saw as Tsunade pushed Orochimaru in the face, sending the black-hired man flying. Naruto groaned, looking at his summon, as he dropped the wood encasing the magnificent stag. Arigator. You may return home, Ginhidzum-sama. The animal looked at him with a critical eye, probably studying him. Stay out of trouble for now, young one. You are quite exhausted. Naruto hummed, as he jumped down from his head. Will do. Then, the stag was gone and Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. Further away, Tsunade and Jiraiya were still struggling with Orochimaru. Naruto staggered over to Sasuke and they watched the fight from a safe distance, trying to catch their breath. After a particularly nasty punch to the face, the snake Sannin let loose a stream of curses at his former teammates, before disappearing with his companion in tow. Now, one problem less, at least, for now. Sasuke grunted. Naruto threw his hand around him to support his brother and Sasuke did the same. Yeah, for now, he agreed, as they walked over to the two remaining Sannin and Shizune. Tsunade looked at him, in shock. Why didn't you stay away? You could have d. Reckless brats. Naruto shared a look with Sasuke and then they smiled. Why? Easy, Senju. Sasuke said, his tone lilting sharply as he spoke the clan name, which caused her to narrow her eyes. A wise man once said, that those of Konoha, civilian, shinobi, children, adults and old, are all a family and family protect one another. And that together we could do a lot of things, as long as that family could count on the support of others. And, Naruto's eyes narrowed on her, you may not with them as your family, but no one can escape their ancestry. You are part of that family, like it or not, for Zenju are one of the pillars of that society. Pillars of that family, who support one another, trough thick and thin. While I'm not happy you're spitting on Gigi's and Oji-san's legacy. I can understand, that grief, disappointment and anger can drive even the strongest to the breaking point. You just have to decide wanting to get away from that fracture in your life, the dark. It's a question of decision and as long as you believe, as long as you have ever known person believing in you, then, you can do it. To start again and do it better. Tsunade looked at them with wide eyes, her mouth parted in shock. She looked as if she saw a ghost. After a long moment, she walked closer, studying them immensely. You know, you two are like them. Just asked Hewere, when I was a kid, she said, her voice a mix of nostalgia, shock and grief. Like who? Naruto asked, arching an eyebrow, fighting to stay conscious. Like Hashirama Gigi and Madara, she whispered. Sasuke snorted. I'm nothing like Themadman, who I free being, just to use it, as a weapon. Tsunade shook her head, understanding the veiled message. There was a time, when Madara was not mad or hateful. There was a time, when he wasn't so bitter. There was a time, when. I remember that Oba-san said, that sometimes, it was like they were more brothers, than Gigi and Oji-san. You two are like that. It's like seeing them again, before Madara was consumed by the curse, alter my memories of that time are brief. Naruto hummed. We're trying to do better, than they had, Oba-san. We're trying to avoid the mistakes they'd made. And you're doing it just right. The will of fire is strong in you too. They made the right decision, trusting you. And, she reached to her neck and untied her necklace and Shizune gasped. I trust you too, as well. You reminded me, what it means to hold the will of fire and I trust you, like they had. She slipped her hands around Naruto's neck and tied it. As she pulled her hands away, the bluish-green crystal fell onto the blonde's chest. Naruto's eyes went wide, as he felt the crystal's power. That's a chakra amplifying crystal. I thought all of these had been gone for ages. His gaze snapped to Tsunade in shock. What? That was Hashirama Gigi's. It helped protect him and our family, also, he claimed. Now I give it to you, Naruto. You have his spirit, you know. That fire. Not only his Mokuton, but his fire, too. May it guide and protect you in the future, as it had protected him. Naruto grinned at her. Arigato, Oba-san, he murmured. However, before anything else could be said, Sasuke passed out, causing the blonde to panic. Ni-sama. He flailed for a moment and then knelt down, molding his chakra to help his brother, only for all the chakra usage and exhaustion to catch up to him as well. The green medical chakra faded from his hands and he passed out cold, right next to Sasuke. Sasuke woke with a massive headache. His body felt like stone and even breathing seemed to be exhausting. Despite just waking up, his eyelids were already dropping and he was fighting sleep again. No, you don't sleep just yet. Eat, if you're awake anyway. A calm, kind yet stern female voice instructed and he felt a hand wrapping around his body. He tensed, his chakra surging forwards in a protective wave, despite his exhaustion. Uchiha-san, please. I just wish to help. Sasuke blinked and tried focusing. It was a young, black-haired woman, with black eyes. If Sasuke didn't know any better, he would have said she was an Uchiha, her coloring passed for one. Then, as she helped him sit up, his back pressed against the wall, with a pillow in between, he recognized her. Shizune. Senju Tsunade's student. Here, eat, she said, offering a small blow of rice. Sasuke took it without question and started nibbling at the food. He knew that if this was Akakura exhaustion, and oh, it was, how embarrassing, then he would need to recover his strength. Which meant proper meals, enough water and a lot of sleep. And no training for a few days, for sure. Where are we? He asked, after swallowing some of the food. Even his voice sounded strained and tired. Why? Why was he as defenseless, as an academy student, compared to what he had been capable of? Carrying valleys, using Susanoo for days and now a single jutsu and summoning his boss partner had been enough to deplete his chakra, so that he needed the wolf's help to pull off that collaboration. True, despite their eye being healed, neither him nor Naruto have taken a real break between the invasion and this trip. After all, they had trained pretty hard with the Hokage around and they may or may not have played down their eye and exhaustion in front of Hashirama, so the older Senju wouldn't notice. It was a stupid idea, he decided at last, with a mental sigh. We should just have admitted how strained our we were, instead of playing it down. Still in Tanzaku guy, she said. We decided to let you two recover somewhat, before heading back to the village. Oh Toto? He asked, his eyes flickering to the motionless form of his brother. He's fine, just tired like you. He wokened 8 hours ago, but it's expected. He heals faster than normal people. Sasuke grunted. Stupid Senju Uzumaki vitality. Stupid nine-tailed furbutt, he muttered under his breath. Unfair. Shizune snickered softly, but she didn't comment, so he finished his food in silence and as fast as it was possible, while still keeping his good manners. When he was done, he gave the bowl back to the woman and slipped under the covers again. Next time you wake up, maybe we can set off for Konoha, she remarked quietly. The comment eased his mind and he slipped into a dreamless slumber, the warm food settling comfortably in his stomach. The journey back to the village was spent in tense silence. Naruto hated it, but he didn't feel like breaking it either. Tsunade's burning gaze was heavy, it was as if the Sannin wanted to say something, yet held it back. Naruto had a very good idea what she wanted to say. She wanted to ask how it was that he had the Mokuton again, when she, or her father, who was the man's direct descendant, didn't. She probably also wanted to ask about his fighting style, so much like her own, yet different. She probably also wanted to ask about the summons, like everyone. Jiraiya had tried asking him about the contracts too, several times in fact, but they had purposefully left the man in the dark. Kakashi and Yamato knowing finding out was inevitable. They were a team. Telling the Sannin could be easily and comfortably avoided. On the outside, it was tense silence. On the inside, the three brothers were having a conversation and the boys were trying hard to keep it to themselves. Her face was priceless, when she was looking at you. After the summoning and the armor. Kurama, be nice. Naruto chided lightly. But Ototo, you have to admit, her face had been priceless. Sasuke said. His voice in his mind was weak, a mere whisper. It would have been easier to keep a link, if his brother had his Sharingan active, but that was not to be. Unlike in their previous life, Sasuke no longer felt the need to set himself apart from others. And he had come to despise how much his clan had depended on the Sharingan after reading certain doents and hearing the accounts of the cage, before Edo Tensei had been released. Naruto rolled his eyes and gave a pointed look to the Uchiha, which earned an eye roll. Are you two having fun? Jiraiya asked, his eyes skipping between them. Those looks, like a lovesick couple. Naruto choked. Nani, he's my brother. Don't be disgusting. He's me and me brother, Sasuke said, the glares directed at the spymaster. Oh, hey, okay. Clam down, it was just joking. Jiraiya apologized. The Sannin muttered something about them not getting a jockey, but Naruto couldn't catch the whole thing. Sasuke on the other hand, probably caught it and scowled. Obviously, you don't get what it's like to know someone so well, that you don't need words to speak, he pointed out. Okay, that was not true. They still needed words, for complex conversations, but most of the time, a hand sign, a look or a gesture was enough to know what the other wanted. Well, just to let you. It's Konoha. Shizune see him off way too cheerfully, making a gesture ahead. We're here. Naruto and Sasuke stood side by side, on the stone face of the Yondaime, listening to the muted cheers of the crowd, as everyone celebrated the newly crowned Hokage. Long may she reign, Naruto said, his words carried by the gentle, warm breeze. Sasuke hummed. What do you think? How long it will take her to reach the point where she wants to strangle the old coots? Danzo may be out of the way, but it can say that it trusts the other two, either. We have no evidence against them, and don't forget it, Ni-sama. We're no longer the sons of the Sannin, for whom people look for guidance. We're just young, clueless children. Talented ones and the last of the founding clans, but still just. Sasuke scowled. Children, who have more common sense than half of the village's shinobi. That matters not, and you know it, he grunted. We should try tracking Zetsu. This messes his work, and if we want to stop this, we'll have to get rid of Zetsu too. Perhaps getting rid of him first would be the best choice. Sasuke sighed. He's been hiding for so long, stalling. He's elusive. He may not know we remember, but. Naruto pouted. True. So what then? Should we try reaching out to the Kaguya and the Hyuga? They carry a part of the Otsutsuki's legacy as well. And, frankly, my encounters with them had made a lasting impression, in a bad sense. Their so-called prodigy is cold, full of bitterness and hate, and their heiress Isoshi. I don't have anything against Hinata, but if that bunch is just Abbott as we used to be, then they will walk over her, even before she becomes a head. Sasuke hummed, sighing. And the Kaguya. From what I know, most of them are gone. Those who remain are regarded as savages. They seem to have lost access to their Kekkei Genkai as well. Naruto blinked, arching an eyebrow. What? But Hamura Oji-sama's it had been so strong. How? Sasuke shook his head. I don't know. However, the Uchiha's sentence was see off, as a cat-masked Anbu appeared behind them. Both genin shifted slowly, studying the operative with sharp eyes. Neko-san. Naruto greeted. Uchiha-san, Senju-san, Hokage-sama wishes to see you, she stated. The boys shared a brief look, before nodding. When they made it to the Hokage's office, they noted with some surprise, that the rest of their peers were present as well. Tsunade sat behind the massive table, the Hokage's hat in front of her, a faint smile on her face. Nara Shikaku and the two elders stood behind her, with Jiraiya lingering off to the side. Once they stopped, eyeing Tsunade, the medic spoke. After careful consideration, based on the accounts of your performance during the exams and the invasion, she reached for something, which was off her table. We made our decisions. You've all shown skills and mindset worthy of Konoha shinobi. As she pulled out a fist, she looked at Shikamaru. Shikamaru, you're an excellent tactician, despite your age. While you have given up your match, your performance helped along your team and also helped them perform better and stay safe in the invasion. For that, you were prompted to Chunin. She tossed him the vest and he caught it. Mendokus, he murmured with Anad, causing Ino to glare. Thank you, Hokage-sama. One by one, Tsunade listed all the positive qualities of each person present, pointing out flaws that should be worked on in the future, to help them improve. And as she listed the names, Chunin vests were distributed among each of them. The pleased expressions and the congratulations passed between them all, in good spirits. Once the group quieted down, they all realized that Tsunade hadn't called out Naruto and Sasuke. Everyone's eyes settled on the boys, occasionally flickering to the Hokage, waiting for her to speak. After a long moment of silence, she did. Uchiha Sasuke and Senju Uzumaki Naruto both stood straighter at the names being spoken, studying the Hokage curiously. According to the accounts, the two of you have stalled the three resurrected Hokage, which allowed Sarutobi-sensei to deal great W to Orochimaru. You two had not only stalled them, but freed them from Orochimaru's control, to aid the village. You kept an unstable Jinchuriki in check, until his seal could be redone and so stopped Shukaku from laying waste to the village. And lastly, your timely appearance outside Tanzaku Guy had saved my life. Once more, you demonstrated teamwork beyond that of teams so recently formed. You showed tactical maneuvers, raw power, teamwork of the highest caliber and a mature mindset, that makes people wonder. I dare say, others could, and can, learn from you. Not only your peers, but those older than you, by decades. Quote. The boys shared a brief look and smiled slightly. Arigato, Hokage-sama. Tsunade smiled and tossed two green vests at him, which they caught on instinct. Naruto, Sasuke, for your outstanding performance and for the will of fire, that burns so brightly in you, as my grandfather would have said, hereby you are Tokubutsu Jonin of Konohagakure. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.